From Twitter, Brian Medeiros. He wants to know, if your dad hadn't been your trainer, which current trainer would you go with? And let me preface this. I understand you were always, I'm doing it with my dad. That's it. Mm-hmm. Hypothetically, that was not the case. If you had to pick a trainer, who would you go with?
Early on in my career, I probably have no clue who I would have gone with. There's actually a really great trainer. And when I was on the Olympic team and we were, looking to go pro, my dad said, hey, if there's anybody else that you would want me to bring in, who would it be? Coach Bashir Abdullah was the 2004 Olympic coach. And then he was again the 2008 Olympic boxing coach. And my dad's let me work with everybody. I've played other sports. So I've been coached plenty of times by other coaches and things like that.
I thought Mickey jumped him.
I thought Goofy got him, started putting their hands on him.
Coach Abdullah, he was like one of the only coaches out there that I felt like, man, this dude's got everything that I would want or need. And I actually told my dad that. He asked who I would want, and I said Coach Abdullah. And obviously that never happened, and we moved forward. And eventually, Barry Hunter was directly in our corner and coming into camp working with us before fights. Prior to that, people don't know this, but Barry was in my corner my debut. He was in my corner in a number of my fights before I even became a NABF champion. So I think Barry Hunter now, in retrospect, I'm like, it's Barry or nobody else. You know what I mean? Beyond my dad.
How good of a trainer is Barry? Just for those that don't really give him the credit he deserves, in my opinion.
I have seen a lot of different coaches, and I can kind of categorize coaches. What coaches are offensive coaches? What coaches are defensive coaches? And specialize with working with southpaws and so on and so forth. Barry Hunter is an X and O's coach. He will break down a fighter. He will tell you all of his strengths and weaknesses, what you need to look out for. When you throw this punch, this is what you can expect coming back. You got to need to do this, step left, step right, so on and so forth. And I really appreciate that about Barry, because my dad's a workman. He will work you to get you to do everything you need to do right. You know what I mean? And my dad will work you more than he will work on, the X's and O's, or this is going to happen, that's what's going to happen, so on and so forth. And that's kind of where they separate, and where Barry became a really vital part of our team later on, especially when we fought Danny Garcia and then, going on to fight Errol Spence Jr. So that is what Barry is. I would say out of all of the coaches that I know, Barry's top 5.
He literally comes to the gym sometimes with a notepad with notes for you. Did for the Danny Garcia fight?
Yeah, the first time I had ever seen that. You see that in football, you see that in basketball. I'd never seen that in boxing, where a coach has a pad in his back pocket to make sure that he's got a list and he goes over everything that we need to do, so on and so forth. And I remember, there were times where I say, hey, how about this? How about that? And he would go and write it down, and make it a part of the game plan. So he's a planner.
And boxing, Shawn, is it good? It's like, I guess it'll be pros and cons of having your dad as your trainer. But, we both had 2 tough dads. And over time, it's like, man, I'm tired of hearing this. So I used to have an uncle that played NFL. And when it comes to sports, Coach Barry is like your fresh ear, a new side of it, a new way to talk to you than just always on you. Because your dad, one thing about Kenny Porter, he got every single ounce of Shawn Porter out of Shawn Porter.
Yeah.
That was the thing, but you needed that little, not that tough side come from Coach Barry. Coach Barry gonna be with you.
And the other side of that too is, as a coach, you have to be able to read your athlete, and you have to be able to coach your athlete the way he needs to be coached. Not everybody is gonna be coached, or not everybody can respond to the coach that's gonna, force or push the instruction. Some, other athletes will respond to the coach that's going to converse and share ideas and offer those things. My dad really didn't offer it. My dad was like, it's like this and that's it, and I was so used to that when Barry came around, it was kind of like it was fresh to me, because I had learned over the course of time that oh, that's not what I need, you know. And but because my dad was my dad, it was like, it's what got me there. I'm not going to argue with that.
I'm accepting it.
Yeah, I got a little older and I realized that this is what I respond to. And it doesn't mean that my dad did anything wrong. It just means that this is who I am. And I actually respond to that better than I respond to this. But this is what's got me here. So I'm going to always keep this with me, you know?
I think a big thing with Barry and just kind of his obvious boxing intelligence is just watching a fight. Like we're watching the fights, you know, a few weeks ago. And even just casually watching a fight, like the gems he just kind of just throws out there, like he just knows, like, oh, and I'm just like, damn, I didn't think of that. Yeah. But, oh man, that's a really good point. Now I'm looking for that. That's just how he's wired.
I kind of felt like when we were watching the fight with him, I felt like the way I feel like sitting next to Max Kellerman, and I'll say something, he's like, he'll agree or whatever. It's like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Got him.
Did you feel like that when you were, you know, offering, you know,
if I threw out a scorecard and it was like, yeah, same here, I was like, yeah, headbangers. I was out to shot to Lamont. But
Barry's an underrated coach, but the thing is, not every coach is fit to take on every piece of talent that comes to them. And Barry's had a lot of talent. That went off. And a lot of I grew up seeing it, you know, a lot of talent that goes off and thinks that they can do things a certain way, the way that they want, so on and so forth. Sometimes those guys don't make it. A lot of times, unfortunately, those guys that don't make it, you know. So
shout out to
Barry's
Blue
one of
too.
those. Yeah, Barry's one of those guys, and he's got a team with him, and I love him, man. He brings the team everywhere he goes, and they all work accordingly. You know what I mean? So they fit right into the program we got, and of course, with us all being young, knowing each other, it was easy.
Barry's like one of those senseis.
Barry, he really is.
I would say,
and he's very.
And I'm gonna go on record for saying we are not hyping up Barry. Barry really is like one of those senseis.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. Well, I just think he's one of those guys where he's been around so long, and he might not have the fighters that get to like the absolute top of the mountain, pay-per-view megastars. And I think that maybe he just doesn't get the credit. Like it's easy to say, oh, Eddie Reynoso's trainer of the year because he has these guys that are up there, obviously Canelo. So I just think I think we're justifiably hyping Barry up. But
yeah, for sure. What's up? I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Ant. Follow me on IG, Ant with 2 T's. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
Just introduce yourself.
Okay.
And then you tell them what to do. I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Anthony Brenagh.
Carson A. Merk. Like, subscribe, comment.
This is the Porter Way.